Okay, so I laid it down on its side. Oh, there we are. And I've taken the side panel off. What we've got is two distinct areas. Up front here is where they have a lot of, it has all of its mass airflow cooling fans. There we go. Dropping stuff. It uses these, that looks really dirty. It uses these foam baffles, I guess, to act as airflow ducts. It will not run with those not in place. Up front we got, I think, 10, basically, what are they? Well, they claim to be DC Mini Ace fans, which are basically Sanyo fans. There we go. I thought I knew what they were. But yeah, this is one of the first servers I actually ended up using, where it had stuff like dual redundant fans, multiple power supplies, multiple CPUs, that sort of thing. So I really had a lot of fun tweaking this thing out. I think it originally only had, these two fans, and then this fan, and then this fan, which cooled the hard drive cage down here. So I added, I think, 3 or 4 more to the system. But that's not really the more, that's kind of neat, but it's not really the neat thing. We've got up here, if I can get the panel off, the real guts of the machine. I'm going to move over here on this side. Of note, we'll start with the cards. Here's that PERK 2 RAID card, onboard battery, I believe 80 megabytes of RAM. You know, and there's the network card and the sound card and that FireWire card, and down over here's the PCI card, USB card. This is the memory carrier. We'll get to that in a second. It also has 6 voltage regulators. I'm not sure how 6 factors into 4 CPUs, but well, there's 6 of them. And I have got to show you these CPUs. These things are absolutely massive. These are 550 megahertz Pentium 3s. I'll set the camera down so I can grab one of them out of there. Here, I'll set it down. You can look at that beautiful cage for what it's worth. Actually, I'm going to take the memory carrier out too, so you can see that. And it makes it a little bit easier to get at the CPU. There we go. So, alright. Here's the CPU. Pentium 3 Xeon with these comparatively small heat sinks mounted to them. And the reason it can get away with that is, well, it is only 500 megahertz. But 2, it's able to push a heck of a lot of air over them. I don't have a Pentium 2 or even a Pentium 3 processor to give as a comparison, but I do have a pop can here somewhere. Here we are. So you can see, size-wise, the comparison between these two. That's a full-size soda can right next to that thing. So there's 4 of those. Pretty nice little latching mechanism for them too. You just sort of raise that up and you slap this guy in. It's almost like a video game cartridge. So you gotta put it in the right way. I will give Intel that the processor slot system really did work well for getting things in and out quickly. This is probably the more interesting part of the whole server, is this memory carrier. It has 16 256 meg PC133 EDO memory modules, and they are, again, a doozy. They are big. Of special note is that they're almost double the amount of RAM chips that you would normally have in a module like this. And I believe that's because of the EDO and ECC. From what I know, and I may just be getting my figures mixed up here, this is effectively, for every memory chip, there's a second redundant memory chip to compare and contrast against. When I bought the machine originally, like I said, it only had, I think, maybe 1 gig of RAM, so I think it had these two to begin with, and then I added all of these onto here. The gotcha with this system, though, is, of course, this carrier board weighs a lot. It weighs maybe 2 or 3 pounds. And as you saw, the server normally sits with this thing not facing straight down like this, but instead hitting against its mechanical stops, you know, from top to bottom. So what can happen is it will just not boot because the memory card isn't seated correctly. So the common fix is, well, you just pop out the memory card, pop it back in, and pretty much you're ready to go. So next, I'm going to actually fire the guy up. I'm going to put these baffles back in place. I'm going to turn off the camera here in a second, and I'm going to hook it all up, and there we go. And then show you what it's all about.